Okay, today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to talk about a specific skill in debate that you might think of as a debate skill. We're going to talk about a general skill that you need to work on that's going to help you be a really good debater. And we're going to talk about how you can do this skill in debate. So what we're going to talk about is setting goals in debate and how to accomplish those goals and how, working towards goals and setting them is going to make you a really great debater. So we're going to talk about why we set goals in debate, what those goals should look like, what they should sound like when you set them. And then we're going to look at basic, advanced, and expert ways of doing it. So, depending on where you're at in your life, what you think you're good at, you might be really good at goal setting already, and you might just crush it. And the basic and advanced stuff might not apply to you. Or this might be something you're pretty new to, and you're going to want to look at the basic stuff and then look at the more advanced and expert stuff as you grow your skills. But just like everything else in debate, this is all about growing your skills, becoming better as a debater and as a student and as someone who's just, in the world practicing skills that are going to make your life better. And the main point of all this is, even if you can't do it right at the beginning, all I want from you is to think about and work towards your goals when you're in debate, because that's going to help you a lot to become a lot better at debate and at everything in life. So why set goals in debate? You might think you already set goals and work towards them, even if you don't write them out. And that's probably true, right? The only way anyone gets better at anything is by practicing and trying and wanting to be better. So you kind of do this already, but it's going to be a lot more effective if you actually think about what your goals are and then make a plan to pursue them and achieve them, right? So goals help you keep on track and growing. I think a lot of times debaters run into a wall, maybe right away or later on, where they're like, oh, I can't get any better as a debater. This is the best I'm ever going to be. Totally not true. If you think about all the things you do in debate, there's probably some things that you could do better. So you should set goals to become better at those things. Goal setting also gives you something to celebrate. Doing little things all the time, little goals, creating those goals and achieving them gives you something that you know you're working towards and getting better at. And they also let your partner and coach know what you're working on. So maybe you just moved up to novice and you want to learn about the disadvantage. You can make a bunch of goals to learn about that and show your partner and your coach what you're doing to get better. And it's not only going to make you a better debater, but it's going to let everybody else know where you are and help you, get better at a faster rate by being able to help you. Okay, so what should your goals be? I think people, when they are goal setting, sometimes set goals that are unrealistic or not actually very helpful. So let's talk about some good and bad ways of thinking about goal setting. So what I like to call controlled goals are things that you can control and measure. I think that these are really good goals that you can set for yourself. So think about, setting a goal for how much time you spend on debate in a week. Do you want to spend 40 minutes or 60 minutes, 120 minutes? How much time do you want to spend getting better at debate? It's totally fine if you choose, if you just want to show up to practice every week, that is what it is. If you want to spend 8 hours every week on debate, that's great too. But just know that, your goal is going to help you become better at debate, either faster or slower, depending on how much time you set aside. Maybe you want to have a goal for the amount of evidence highlighted. How many pieces of evidence do you want to highlight per week? Is it one? Is it zero? Is it one? Is it 10, 20, 40? The amount of evidence you highlight is going to obviously help you become a better debater because you're reading through it, you're understanding it better, and you have it ready to go for the debates. And the number of debates you choose to do is also a great goal. Do you want to do one debate at the next tournament, 2, 3? Do you want to do 8 throughout the season? How many debates do you want to do? This is something that you have full control over, right? How much time you spend, what you do at that time, and then planning out for things like how many debates. You control all of that, more or less, right? Things come up. I know, sometimes things come up, whatever. But for the most part, when you set these goals, you are the one controlling them. You decide how much you want to spend on all of these projects, right? And when you've completed them, because you've either done one debate, you've done 8 debates, you can count how many you've done. So those are all really good goals to have. The other category is uncontrolled goals, which are things you can't really control or measure. So something like winning a certain number of debates. Okay, you can measure that. And to some degree, you can control it because you can prepare for the debate. but ultimately you can't control what your opponents are going to do or how they prepare or how the judge votes in a debate. So if you're saying, my goal is to win 3 debates at the next debate, no matter how much you do, you can't necessarily achieve that goal because there's so many other things going on. So it's not really a great goal to have in terms of goal setting and working on those skills, because there's only so much you can do towards that goal, right? And sometimes it's not even clear what you can do to achieve that goal. It's a little bit hard to measure. Or beating a certain team. Let's say you go to a tournament, you win your first 2 debates, and then you lose your 3rd debate to like some school. And then you say, okay, next debate, I'm not going to lose to that team. I'm going to beat them. Well, okay, but what if you aren't scheduled to debate them in the next debate at the next tournament or the tournament after that? How can you achieve that goal, right? It's not measurable. It's not something you can control. So those are not really strong goals to have. This part got cut off, but says you can still have uncontrolled goals, but you should really focus on the controllable ones, the ones that you can make sure that you hold yourself accountable and do. Those are the goals that are most important for you. Okay. So now that we know what the skills should look like and we know how to measure them, let's think through some basic goal setting skills. So if you don't have these skills yet, if you haven't been working on them, that's fine. That's not a bad thing. You shouldn't think that this is something that like, oh, I don't know how to basic goal set. It doesn't matter. We're here to learn skills and get better. And it's all about your growth and getting better as a debater and as a student and as a human being, frankly. So just figure out, do I do these things right now? How can I get better at them? That's the whole goal of this video. So basic goal setting skills. I want you to create some basic goals based on what you're working on in debate. So that might be something like flowing better. And a more measurable way of saying that would be, I want to, at the next debate, I want to flow every single author that the other team reads, or I want to flow every single argument. I want to make sure I know, where the uniqueness, link, and impact are. I want to, every debate, I want to be able to flow that perfectly, right? That's a good goal to have because you can measure that and it's something under your control. Or highlighting more evidence, right? You sit down with your stack of evidence and you say, every day I'm going to highlight 2 pieces of evidence. And by the end of the week, I'm going to have 14 pieces highlighted every week. And if the thing I'm working on is, 20 some pages, then within 2 weeks, I'm going to have every single piece of evidence highlighted. Easy. Okay, something like speaking more clearly, that seems like it's less measurable, but it's actually not. You could measure something like, how many pieces of evidence can I read in 4 minutes? How efficiently can I read them? How many, roughly, how many words am I saying? If I'm reading my 1AC, how long does it take me to read that? Does it take 5 minutes? Well, maybe I can push that down to 4 minutes by being better at reading it, being more efficient at reading it. So you can measure this too, right? How about using all your speech time in your next speech? In your 1AC, do you use all 4 minutes or do you only use 2? How can you make it so that you use all 4 minutes efficiently and effectively? These are all things that are 100% in your control and that you can work on, tomorrow if you start. You can work on today, shoot. Okay, another basic goal setting skill is make sure you have someone who can see if you're completing your skills. This is either your partner, your coach, maybe even your parents if they're around, who knows. When you say you're going to spend 20 minutes every day on debate, are you actually doing it? Who's holding you accountable? How are you measuring that? Are you writing it down somewhere, or, is someone keeping track of it? If you're saying that you're going to highlight every piece of evidence in the affirmative disad file, let's say, who's looking at that? How are you making sure you're actually getting it done? So it's good to have your own goals and set them for yourselves, but it's very helpful to have someone else checking in on you. So that might be as simple as just your coach saying, hey, everyone choose a goal for this week. And next week at practice, we're going to see if everybody met their goal. Everybody highlight 2 cards. Everybody, be able to say your 1AC within 4 minutes. Everybody watch this demo debate and flow all the authors, something like that. It's that easy. And then try your best to keep your goals in front of you at practice and at tournaments. So if you write down a goal, but it's not in front of you, you forget about it, you're probably not going to achieve that goal, right? So write down your goal, put it, at the front of your binder, put it somewhere where you're going to see it every day, put it on your laptop or on your Chrome pad as like its own note, and then every time you're going through different tabs and stuff, you're going to see it pop up. It's going to remind you that's there. So have a goal, make sure it's somewhere you're going to see it, and then make sure it's something you can work towards. If you can do all this, you don't have to have a bunch of goals, right? It can be 1 or 2 goals, just something you work on short term and then have a timeline and know that you've done it. If you can do this all season, you're going to complete a bunch of goals and you're going to get way, way, way better at debate so quickly because you're actually going to know what you're working towards and you're going to make sure that you're doing it correctly. I suppose another part of this that has to do with someone else checking your goals is make sure you tell your goals to someone like your partner or your coach so that they can say, okay, that makes sense. And, how are you going to do it? Or they can say, maybe there's a better way to think about that goal or pursuing it. Okay, advanced goal setting. If you feel like you do all the basic stuff already, then you can think about more advanced goal setting skills. So one thing to think about is think about some short-term goals you want to achieve this week or the next. So you have a timeline, right? You say, this week I'm going to highlight this many cards, or I'm going to build a 1AC, or I'm going to spend 2 hours on debate this week or through the next, whatever. And then think about some long-term goals you want to achieve over the season. So that way you have 2 different sets of goals that you're working on, and they can keep you motivated and moving through the season effectively. So some long-term goals to think about would be like, I'm going to move up a division, right? I'm going to go from rookie to novice or from novice to JV by the end of the season, or I'm going to debate 6 debates, or I'm going to highlight the whole packet. Those are long-term things that you can't really do in a week or 2, but if you work towards them every single week, eventually you're going to make it there. And it's totally under your control. All those things are under your control, right? Whether it's short or long, it's totally under your control about whether you can do that or not. Okay, let's look at some expert goal setting skills. So for this one, you're going to have short-term and long-term goals, but those short-term goals are going to help you achieve the long-term goals. So think about a couple long-term goals you want to have for this season, and then think about what are some short-term goals I need to have every week or every 2 weeks to help me make it to that point. So let's say you want to move up a division before the 3rd tournament. So you go first, second tournament in whatever division, and then 3rd tournament, you say, okay, I'm going to move up to the next division before that tournament. Here's some short-term goals you could have that are going to help you complete that long-term goal. So highlight all the evidence that you have before the 2nd tournament. That way you know everything at your division and you're ready to go. You have everything knocked out and ready. And that way when you get done with the 2nd tournament, you'll have time between 2nd and 3rd tournament to move up and learn what you need to learn to go to the next division, right? And it's something that's measurable. You know if you've highlighted everything or if you haven't, right? It's either yes or no, you've done it or you haven't done it. Another short-term goal is to read all the new evidence by the 3rd tournament. So if you have all the old evidence from your other divisions highlighted and done, then between the 2nd and 3rd tournament, you just read everything, maybe you highlight it, and then you have a really good understanding of it before the 3rd tournament. And then another thing that you might want to practice is consistently using all the speech time at the 2nd tournament. So 1st tournament, you do your best. 2nd tournament, you work on more advanced skills and things that you can work on. So that way, by the time you get to the 3rd tournament, when you're ready to move up a division, you know that you can talk about everything in the other divisions really well. You've got it nailed. You've already used all your speech time in the other debates. Now you're ready to add new arguments and you know how to efficiently talk about everything else. So this way, you can set really easy, strong, short-term goals that are going to help you move up before the 3rd tournament. And if you're really good at this, you can think about timetables, right? So if you say, highlight all the evidence before the 2nd tournament, well, if you start at the beginning of the year, you think about the 2nd tournament, that's probably about a month and a half or 2 months that you have. So how many pieces of evidence is that you need to highlight? Find however many weeks and just say, every week I'm going to highlight 8 pieces of evidence. And if I do that, then before the 2nd tournament, the whole packet will be done. So you can break it out into short-term goals to help you complete your long-term goals. And then just make sure you check in every week on your goals, make sure you're doing them. Even if you slip up for a week or 2, that's fine. That happens. In life, you're not going to be able to complete every goal every week. Just make sure that if you do slip up somewhere else, you're able to, reel it in and get back on track. But basically, that is goal setting in a nutshell. And you should be working on this every week, all the time, and you should know what your goals are. and you should be working with your coach and partner to make sure you achieve your goals over time and get better as a debater. And this is going to be the main way that you can do that. So think about some goals, think about what skills you need to work on, and then work towards those goals in the next few weeks and over the season. But otherwise, enjoy, have a good time, and good luck debating.